Dungeons & Dragons is collaborating with Dead by Daylight to bring us the latest killer and survivor combo. They went all in with this chapter, creating a unique killer that opens the doors for so much counterplay from the survivor end, as well as offensive strategies that you can use when you're playing as Vecna to effectively shut down loops and almost make it so the survivors have very little options when it comes to looping you. In this video, I want to demonstrate certain counterplays and also certain strategies that you can use while playing in the latest Dungeons & Dragons chapter. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. The first part of this will be focused on the survivor aspect of looping Vecna, followed by a killer portion of the video where I go over his power more in depth from a killer perspective. I will of course put timestamps down in the description, so if you want to skip around to a point of the video or come back to this video at any point, feel free to. Okay, I didn't want to overwhelm you in the intro of the video, but basically there are 6 treasure chests around the map, and each one of them contains a magic item that a survivor can equip when they loot it from a chest. These include boots or gauntlets. There are 4 different effects that each one of these gauntlets or boots could potentially give you. The boots of Skyguard reveal the Lich's aura when he is flying. The gauntlets of the Night Watch allow you to see the auras of the flying entities when they are being cast upon you. The gauntlets of the Archivist allow you to see the Dispelling sphere. The boots of the Interloper reveal the aura of pallets affected by the Magehand, as well as giving you 7% haste for 3 seconds. Now, I didn't want to confuse you at the start, but when you open a chest, you roll a dice, and based on the die, if you hit the number 20, you will be rewarded with either the Eye of Vecna or the Hand of Vecna, and depending on which one you get, will give you a different ability when you hop inside of a locker and then when you jump out. Before you can just hop in a locker, you need to attune to the Hand or the Eye of Vecna. Attuning essentially just activates the ability. I figured I should know when you're carrying the special items after you accumulate 2 hook stages, similar to how Pyramid Head is able to chop someone in half. Vecna is able to perform a mini mori similar to Sadako or Pyramid Head's mini mori that they have built into their kit. There are certain counters to Vecna's ability Flight. What you can do is you can run back through Vecna, or you can always vault back over the pallet or the window when he goes through it. He has a very long cooldown when he does this, so it gives you the time and the space to vault back through. Another thing that you can do is just keep holding forward around a tight loop, because when he casts Flight, it's very stiff and it's hard for him to make tight turns, so use that to your advantage. Vecna with his flight ability is a lot like Wraith, where he can body block you from taking pallets or taking vaults, so keep that in mind. Vecna can also use his fly ability to traverse the map in quite a unique way. Vecna's main damaging ability besides his M1 power is called Flight of the Damned, and this summons 5 skeletons that fly at you at 9 meters a second, and they fly for around 22 meters, spreading out the further that they fly. Unlike a Pyramid Head's shockwave ability, they cannot go through people, but they can hit people that are next to each other. What you have to keep in mind is sometimes when you are locking yourself into an animation such as dropping a pallet or vaulting a pallet, it's pretty much a guaranteed hit if he uses his skeletons correctly. The most effective way I've seen the skeletons used is when Vecna gets behind line of sight and casts them. Sometimes if you have one of the special items, you can see him casting that, and that's actually one of the best items in my opinion. There's a pretty fun mini game when it comes to dodging his skeletons. Sometimes you have to crouch under them, other times you have to move your body in between them so you don't get hit. It's pretty fun. I actually quite enjoy it from the survivor aspect of it. Vecna's Magehand allows him to pick up a down pallet or block a pallet that is already upright. When you're looping Vecna and he casts this ability on a pallet that is already up, just keep looping around the pallet and eventually the mage hand is going to wear off and you're going to be able to drop it on him. If Vecna times it perfectly, he is able to pick the pallet up as you drop it, so pre-dropping against this killer is kind of dangerous. Vecna's Dispelling Sphere, as the name sounds, it dispels your magical abilities, aka the boots or the gauntlets that you're picking up around the map. It's also important to note when he casts this ability on you, it gives him killer instinct of whoever's in the vicinity of the sphere. You have to be careful of the sphere because there's certain add-ons that Vecna has that allow him to either exhaust you, or if you're injured at the time, he can give you the broken status effect. I did notice this to be particularly annoying on indoor maps and smaller maps because if Vecna runs Nurse's Calling, he can essentially keep you broken for a long time. When he casts the sphere, if you are in a locker at the time, it's going to be able to detect you and also disable your magical abilities for 60 seconds. Moving on to the killer portion of the video, Vecna's power is so versatile because he has 4 abilities baked into his kit. He has an ability for map traversal via his flight. He has an ability to seek out survivors and pretty much gain information via his Dispelling Sphere. He has an ability to damage you from afar via his Flight of the Damned, or the skeletons that just project from him. And lastly, one of his most unique abilities is the Mage Hand, and it allows him to block a pallet and essentially shut down loops timed right. There's many good uses of flight that I've found, whether it is to catch up to a survivor in chase or to catch up to a survivor to body block a resource that they're trying to get to, whether it's a pallet or a window. I don't know if it's technically a bug at the moment, but you can sometimes stop your flight inside of a character and have them just get stuck inside of you, resulting in a free hit, or in my case I had plot twist, so I just flopped on the ground under a pallet. You can also use your flight to go off hills and just go through windows. It's kind of useless, but it's pretty fun and kind of cool to see. And there's a lot of unique mind games that you can do sort of at Shack, where you can kind of fake your red stain, where you're flying around the corner and you cut back and you go through the Shack window in an attempt to catch them off guard. With Vecna's Flight of the Damned ability, he projects 5 skeletons approximately 8 yards in front of him, and you can use this information when you're on a loop and a survivor rounds a corner. You can kind of place them in a way where they're going to instantly get hit by the skeletons. A really good use of this power is to try to hit people when they're in an animation, such as dropping a pallet. You can hit multiple survivors with this ability if they are next to each other. I've also found that it's a good way to push people back that are trying to go for a pallet save. You can kind of force them to either run away or dodge. One of the main ways that you're able to counter a lot of the survivors' magical items that allow them to see pretty much everything that you're casting at the time is your Dispelling Sphere. It's very important that you are trying to use this as much as possible because it denies survivors the ability to see your aura and also see the aura of any of the spells that you're casting at the time. This also serves as an excellent information tool because when you cast it in any direction, it's going to spread out as it goes further. The Dispelling Sphere has a movement speed of around 5.5 meters a second, and it lasts for around 25 seconds when you cast it. It has a radius of 6 meters that can be increased with add-ons, and it gives you killer instinct detection for around 3 seconds. The main thing that it does is it disables survivors' magical items for 60 seconds. Now we have one of the most unique abilities to Vecna's kit. It's underwhelmingly good. And I say that because once you kind of get the hang of it, it becomes really oppressive if you can get the timing down right. But it's also one of those things where you cast it and the survivor counterplay is to just keep holding forward around the loop until the mage hand inevitably wears off. If you're able to time it perfectly, you're almost able to catch the survivor dropping the pallet as they drop it, or in some cases you can try to pick up the pallet before they get the ability to vault. I've had the most success with this ability when I'm at smaller loops, and also when I'm almost at the point where I can hit the survivor and they're about to drop the pallet. I can kind of play this mind game with them where if they pre-drop the pallet, you can instantly pick it up and walk through it and get a hit. I wouldn't recommend using this ability at bigger loops in certain cases where you don't think you're going to be able to get a hit, because a lot of the time if you cast it too early, it's going to run out even before you're able to land a hit. Now, I didn't really talk about this much throughout the video, but the two special items that survivors are able to get, the Hand of Vecna and the Eye of Vecna, have certain counterplays that you can do. First and foremost, you can see when the character has either the Hand of Vecna equipped or the Eye of Vecna installed into their character, because their character player model will glow, as well as if they hop into a locker and they hop out immediately and you see that there's no one that exits a locker, you can swing automatically and pretty much catch them as they're hopping out of the locker invisible. And if you don't catch them, you're able to get a killer instinct detection on them when they're out of the locker. And this just allows him to figure out where you are on the map, because the Hand of Vecna is extremely powerful because it just teleports you to a random locker. I don't know if you picked up on it, but earlier in one of the clips, when the survivor had hopped out of the locker, he had the Eye of Vecna equipped. And another thing that you're able to do to track a survivor that's invisible, kind of like Spirit, where you can track them via environmental cues such as grass moving or footstep audio. You can do the same with Vecna. Granted, there are some cases where footstep audio can be a little bit wishy-washy depending on the map, depending on the survivor. Behavior has coded this game in a way where there's, I believe, 3 different footstep audios in the game. So depending on what kind of shoe the survivor is wearing, you're going to have a harder time distinguishing where they are if they're running around. And also if they are on a indoor map that has a hardwood floor or a tile floor, it's going to be a little bit easier to hear them, versus if they're on a sandy map such as Iria Crows, you're not going to be able to hear them as well. Now, with that being said, that pretty much wraps up my Vecna guide. If you guys have any further questions, let me know down in the comments. And also, we're really close to hitting 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I would love it if you were the 1,000th sub. Alright, and with that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Stay safe, homies. I'll catch you in the next video. Oh, he just walks through.